Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, founder of Be Better Media and a mom of four, passionate about human connection. Some of these stories contain sensitive content about real life events, and all of the information in this podcast and from anywhere on the Be Better Media website is for informational purposes only. If you find that you need help, which we all do from time to time, please reach out to a licensed professional for help. One thing I love about social media are the connections I have made with real people who go after life in the most inspiring ways. I'm fortunate to call Shawn Ledig one of those connections. Shawn's perspective as a father, husband, business owner, athlete, and coach will enlighten you about how to be a champion for yourself and for others in the healthiest way. He's always working to evolve, grow, and create generational change that will leave a legacy for years to come. And that comes through loud and clear in this awesome conversation. All right. Oh, I am so excited today to be joined by my dear friend, Shawn Ledig, for the second time on What I Meant to Say. And I encourage everybody to go back and check out the first episode because we're going to cover some new ground today. And really excited to have you here, Shawn. So thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy, excited to be here.
Yeah, well, you've since the last time we talked, as always, you're up to so much. So I'm excited to get through, man, like what your day looks like, the Special Olympics journey, some, our beliefs on energy and conscious capitalism, all this good stuff that we always talk about. So for those people that don't know you, we connected through social media and the beach volleyball world, and we've become good friends because we have like minds, and I just want people to get a feel for, what your day looks like, and the way that you perform in everything is so high level. So what does a typical day look like for you?
I guess most people tell me, I'm a busy guy. So I guess in reality I am, but it kind of works out better for me that way. Cause if I'm one of those people, if I take a break or I try to, relax too much, it just kind of kills the vibe. So on a normal day, I wake up around 5 o'clock. I spend some time with the dogs. I've got 4 dogs, 3 Labradoodles and an Aussie Doodle, so they need some attention. So I get those guys. I take care of them. They follow me around the house, and then I go outside. I make an athletic greens drink. Go outside to the garden, kind of water things, just kind of chill and relax out there for 15, 20 minutes. Come back in, start to read a book. Whatever book I'm reading. Like right now, I'm reading this book, Energy Matters by Ziapa Jackson, which is hilarious that we were going to talk about energy on the show, on the podcast, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of reading this. So I've got a few good things out of that I'll actually have to get to share with.
That's awesome.
And so then I'll get up, I'll come grab, and we'll get Soren up and ready for school. Start my work day, work the first half of the day. I try to knock everything out really hard in the first part of the day, whether I'm going out with clients or I'm in the office or I'm with employees, and just kind of, getting things done. I try to hit hard the first part of the day.
Yeah.
That's when I function best, I think.
Yeah.
So I do that.
I know that feeling. I'm a morning person too. And tell people what your business is about.
Engineering firm, engineer by trade. Kind of dabble in a couple of other smaller businesses that I work with, but I mean, mostly, we're a local firm here in Louisiana, Abita Springs, Mandeville area, and so we're a full spectrum engineering firm, and so we do pretty much everything. We were big in the oil and gas, of course, being in South Louisiana. My partner Herb Whitlow, he had started the company in 2009. I actually got introduced to him right before the COVID, and so we got together, and business for pretty much everybody went down after that. It was really rough. Everybody took a big hit, and so employees were let go. Try to keep as many people as possible. I actually got with him. We branched out and we started to do different things rather than oil and gas, and we got into some commercial type and food processing and just other businesses that local, which were good to help, that were good for us, and so that basically kept us afloat. And so, here we are now. Things are starting to pick back up, thank goodness. Not as much as they were, but they are getting back. They're getting back in the swing of things. And I do, business development with some other companies, and so that does keep me busy. So I try to, each day is kind of a different thing. One day is this business, the next one's this one, and just try to flip flop those as much as possible. So to make it work out. But
I
That's
love
what I
that.
do.
I think that
But
that concept
yeah,
of the growth mindset that you have, like, and how that applies not just in sports and
yeah,
life, but specifically in business, and always being able to look for
yeah.
those opportunities, like, I think that's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's big. I mean, it's huge. It's just one of these things. I mean, and it's I've been able to work with it because I think everything that's led up to this and since, since college and everything else and just in a business world, it's funny how things happen or you go through these certain things or you get this job and you go through this job and you maybe let go from this job. 2008, 2009, remember what happened there? Everybody got the economy went pretty bad. So I
Yeah.
actually jumped into a sales engineering position with Hilti. And they're a big company, international company, and actually that right there, even though I never thought that I would jump into that situation, because I mean, I was never a great public speaker, but they trained us and they taught us in many years through that and just the group that they uh, had us with and everything. I had 4, 5, 6 years of that, and it helped out a lot. And then whenever I left there, went off into back into the engineering world, the design and the management and everything, and it just made me that much better of pretty much everything. It's wild to think that that's how sales plays a big part in it, but even as being a business owner, I mean, you've got to be a salesman no matter what. You got to sell yourself, got to sell the company, got to sell the products. So that's how it goes. But that's what I do. And then at noon at lunch, I usually try to come home and I take a 15-minute nap every day,
Huge
every
believer in
day.
the power
And
nap.
you know
I
that because I
love the
tell you
power
all.
nap.
I was like I got so what I'll do is I'll put my headphones on. The dogs all come with me. I mean, if I'm able to do it, but if I'm out of town or something like that with clients, I can't. But I'll take the nap. I'll put it on. I'll put on some meditation, some kind of just soothing music, and I'll sit there and just breathe. Do some breathing exercises, and I'll set a timer. And now it's getting to the point now where it's so I do it so much, like it's 14 minutes and 35, 45 seconds. I'll wake up, and then the timer goes off. I'll be really, really tired if I sleep the full 15 minutes, and I never really go, and I don't want to go over 15 minutes because I've tried to do that every now and then. Puts me in like it makes me a little groggy, so 15
Yeah.
minute power nap is perfect for me, and I learned that from Arnold Schwarzenegger and reading things and listening to that stuff. I was like, let me try this out. Perfect, because what it does is it sets me on the path for that second part of the day. So the second part of the day, I leave, get back with business clients and whatnot, and then after that, then I come home. Me or Angelique, one of us will bring Soren to jiu-jitsu, soccer. Stella's got her stuff to do. Get the kids to what they need to do to get to, and then of course I've got jiu-jitsu myself.
Yep.
And then if I don't have jiu-jitsu, I normally go to the gym. It's either I'm going to the gym or I'm going to Hot Works, one of those two. And so
Yep.
it's a pretty much an everyday thing. And I think I've actually worked to where I'm like that now. Like I'm jiu-jitsu 3 to 4 times a week for right now. I should be released. I had my tricep surgery. I should be released within next week. So I've already got some different tournaments scheduled. I've got one in Houston, Waco in December, and I've got France in January. So going back to the European Championships to try to defend that title.
Oh yeah,
So
let's get into some of this jujitsu stuff because that's quite a schedule
yeah,
you just lined out. And
yeah,
like I told
it's
people,
yeah,
we met through volleyball, and
I
before
know.
that you were a basketball player, and
Yeah,
and now you've transitioned to setting your athletic goals through jujitsu, and
yeah.
you're kind of crushing that. So
I've done well. I think yeah, I've done well. But I have to give a lot of credit to my team. My team is. I mean, I don't know everybody's going to say that, but I mean, even though but when people even see us out at competitions, whether it's Vegas or whether it's I was at Rome by myself because a lot of competitors couldn't actually make it to Italy last year or this year. Um, but even though when we're traveling around the country, it's like having a family. It's
yeah,
pretty amazing. It's pretty
yeah,
amazing, especially, and it's not a BS type family. It's you've got people that are actually you know they work with you, they train with you, you travel with them and stuff like that. So it's a relief to have that loyalty. It's almost it's loyalty. That's one thing
yeah,
I've learned. I mean, I think the biggest thing from jiu-jitsu, I started because of my younger son. So Soren was about 5 years old. We put him in because I thought that I always thought that was something I could have used when I was younger. Like I tried to box a little bit when I was a kid, but do a few things here and there. I was always in the sports, so that kept me busy. But just as a man, or just as anybody, I think self defense is huge. I mean, a man's got to be able to protect himself, his children, his family, and actually others. I mean, I've always felt like, to be a protector, and I'll that's, just goes hand in hand. So having him start at a younger age, you can just tell the difference in his confidence and the way he does things. And he's already defended himself with a bully at school. It's pretty funny. He actually took it there, and he asked me about it. He said, "What should I do?" I was like, "Buddy, just do jujitsu." And he got in a little squabble with the older kid, and actually handled his business. And him and the kid now are like bus buddies. They ride the everything's fine. I was like, "Well, you did a good job." So, but
Yeah, it's always good to be able to help a bully level up, right? I
yeah.
mean, to
Oh,
have your kid be that, I freaking
yes.
love that.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was great. Like, and he asked me how I thought it went. He kind of told me, and I told him, I said, dude, it was 15, 20 seconds of fame. I said, it was great. I said, you defended yourself. He was bigger than you. He actually put him on the ground. And then when he put him on the ground, Soren actually sat out and then got his back and was choking him out. And the kid was like, no more. I mean, other kids had seen it, so they kind of told me about it. And I was like, wow. And after that, they were all fine with it. And I said, have you had any trouble after that? And he's like, no, we're good. I said, well, that's good. That's what you need to do.
Good.
It's bully,
Tell
bully,
me,
proofing.
tell me a little bit, for people who don't know. My kids all took jujitsu too, so I completely agree with you. But tell me,
Yeah.
for people who don't know about jujitsu and what it can do for emotional regulation, because
Yeah.
some people think, oh, it's fighting and it's violent. But talk to me
Yeah.
about the emotional regulation part of that you learn on the
Well,
mat.
jujitsu, I mean, and when you translate it over, it means the gentle art. And of
Hmm.
course, everybody goes in there, and yes, of course, it is self-defense. So people think it's aggression. Now, when you watch us compete, that looks aggressive. It is aggressive. That's different. But as far as going in on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday competition class is a little different, because that's like where everybody goes to compete on that level. But really, it's not aggressive. It actually it calms people down. That's one thing I've learned. I mean, basically, because you got to look at it this sense, you got to leave your ego at the door. As soon as you walk, and that's why I always take pictures of the door when I'm walking in. And I tell that to everybody. They're like, "Oh, you're a big guy, or you do this, or you're athletic." It really doesn't matter, because for 6 months, I got wrecked by a 16-year-old. Tyler, he's my buddy. I love him to death. He's 17. He's a high school wrestler, and he'd been doing it since he was like 9 years old, 8 years old. I mean, he was a young kid, so he was legitimate, like a green belt, and he's only 165 pounds wet, but he would just brutalize me. And I was like, but I loved it. I was like, this is what I need. I need this. This is, it kind of, it humbles me. It teaches you humility. It kind of teaches you respect in the aspect of, I can take these guys, I can take these guys. But then there's a 16-year-old kid, and he's just like whipping my ass. Excuse my French.
Yep, that's all
Every
good.
every Tuesday and Thursday, and I loved it. But the good thing was Tyler, I wasn't. I guess my ego didn't step in. I would ask him, like, "Hey, what did I do there? What did I do there? What did I do there?" Like, for 6 months. I'm talking, but he's awesome. You got to watch this kid. He's one of the best skilled jiu-jitsu like blue belts that we have, and he's 17. But and he would tell me, and the other guys, the coaches, and all of our professors and black belts. We have a lot. We have a good number of black belts at our gym. Plus, my professor Rafael, he's a world champion, 2 time, like black belt. So it's not like, hey,
Wow.
he's a world champion. Like, he is a world champion. So he's been around it. He trained. He's from Brazil. Excuse me. He's trained in Brazil. He grew up in Brazil, so he's been around it all his life. Over there, it's kind of like how we have sports. Like, he told me about his mom. She was like, he was young, 5, 6, 7. She's like, it's time for you to start doing jujitsu. So they all do it, whether they like it or not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but it all, but as they get older, they realize, that it's something that they needed. So good that they have that parental influence to get them to do it. Same thing with Soren. I already told him. I said, "You're going to do it till you're 18, whether you want to or not." I said, "Once
Yeah.
you're 18, whether you think you're too cool for it or whatever, but until then, you're going to learn to protect yourself and others, and you're going to learn, and be basically a bully blocker." I said, "That's what I've told him." I said, "You don't ever start anything with anybody, but if it comes down to it, and it's something that you're involved with, you take care of it." So he's done pretty well with that. But yeah, and I mean, the things that I've learned from it, as far as like patience. I mean, because it's just the slow progression. I mean, I'm a blue belt. I got my blue belt a little earlier than most people, but like you said, last year, 11 tournaments around the globe, 9 golds, 2 silvers, #1 ranked as a white belt. Dropped back down. Actually, right now, I mean, the rankings matter, but they don't in a sense. But I'm right now I'm #4 in my division. So that's I've got that in the journal. I don't know where's it at. Yeah,
Oh yeah, show us
so
the
so so
journal.
so 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 I've got this thing here, and this has probably been. I mean, you can tell, like me. I write everything in it. Um, I talk about each class, each tournament, whenever the tournaments are, like what I learned each class and everything. I'm it's been very very pivotal in my training because sometimes you learn things, and after an hour and a half of getting wore out, I mean, I have to come back and fill it out immediately because if not, I kind of forget it the next day. So I come in, even whenever I'm huffing and puffing still, I'll write everything down, who it was with, what I did, what we learned. And that usually tends to stick a little better. And if I got to go back sometimes, I can always look at what we did, and I can always say, okay, this is the move we did, and I can go Google it or YouTube it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to YouTube a lot of things when it comes to jiu-jitsu because they show
Hmm.
impractical moves. They
Okay.
show you
Okay.
they show you they show you stuff that'll probably never really work in a tournament. Not saying it never has, but I mean a lot of these things that they show, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm never going to do that to anybody, and hopefully nobody ever does that to me.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well,
but
I mean, and what I love the journal because it shows, the level of discipline that you apply to things, and I think
yeah,
that is such a skill to have lifelong, and especially for sustainable high performance as we get
yeah,
older, and we're learning things, but we're also aging, and like how do we take
yeah,
care of our bodies? And so can you talk to me a little bit
yeah.
about the way you look at sustainable high performance as you age?
Man, I mean, you got to take care of this body. I mean, I'm saying that, and I've had surgery after surgery, but it's still the same thing. Like, look, I mean, me and some of the guys that work out around here, and like John Wagner, he's a buddy of mine from Alabama, plays volleyball, and he's older than I am, but like that's what we laugh and tell each other. One of us would always have something wrong with what was my elbow's busted up, his shoulder. I was like, hey, until the wheels fall off, partner. I was like, we're gonna ride this thing out until the wheels fall off. It's the only body we have, so you better take care of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
What are some what are,
that's just
what
that.
are some of the specific things you do? I know you mentioned athletic greens,
Yeah.
but what
Well,
other
yeah.
things?
What I do is through optimized nutrition. I mean, that's one thing for sure. And this is a live and learn type. This is 25 years of nonstop being in the gym every week, never taking a day off. But just my diet. I mean, I do have uh, I get pre-made meals from Shawn Nola, and I've been getting some other ones from this place, Armbar Grill. He's actually Professor Josh actually is a black belt with Gracie United, so he's got some good food too. So just whatever I can. I've been trying to get off of like the gluten. I don't have any issues with it, but just as
Yeah.
far as like I just like with the dairy and stuff, gluten and all that stuff, just for information. So that and then supplementation. Like,
Hmm.
there's a few, I take supplements. And like we had talked about, I kind of talking to the doctor recently when I went in for all of this,
Hmm.
we started talking about peptides. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
give me the scoop on it. And he was like, well, and he was trying to like, you know, he's a doctor, so he didn't want to give me too much information. He's like, but I can tell you this. So this is coming from an orthopedic surgeon. He's
Okay.
like, I can't. I can't prescribe them to you. He said it's not necessary for me to prescribe them anyway. You can go buy them wherever. He said, but I will tell you that it probably wouldn't hurt if you took it. I was like, okay. So I took that and I ran with it. I ordered some peptides and I kind of looked up what I needed. And when I went back for my 6 week checkup, he was like, Jesus. He's like, your arm looks great. He's like, you have better movement. Now, me being on my own just before PT, I already started working with my arm and doing things. It's still a little weak. Like if I take this off, it's not the same size. Atrophy set in a little bit. I've worked it out as much as I can. I just started where I've been rolling at the gym. So it's going to come back, but it's been about 10 or 11 weeks. So I've got about
Okay.
another week. They release me, and then I've got to start to build the strength back in it. But he's like, look, I told him, I said, look, I'm taking these peptides. He's like, they seem to be working. I said, well, that's true. I said, but look, he knows I don't drink, don't smoke, I don't do anything to damage my body. Like I said, it's the only one. It's the only true thing that we as an individual, as a human being, we own is our bodies. That's it. Everything else is, it can be taken away. It's rented. It's leased. But this body, you're stuck with it, partner. So you you either take care of it or you let it go to the wayside. And people are like, well, it's expensive for me to shop here or eat here or do this. And I see people like, oh, you eat sushi every day. I was like, well, it's something that I know that my body works well with. And I said, I don't eat all the rice. I said, don't judge me for that. I just try to keep it as lean as possible. But I was like, you may think it may be expensive now, but on the back end, when you get sick, say when we're in our 60s and 70s, you see a lot of people paying a big, hefty price for not taking care of themselves early on. And it sucks. It sucks to see people that may have been in decent shape in their 40s, maybe to their 50s, but that's just from maybe good genetics or decent health. And but once you get past that point, you really have to be sustainable in what you do. You know, you have
Yeah.
to keep it up every day. You have to do a little bit. You know, and we're not, I don't work out the way I used to. Like I don't go in there and power lift like I did in my early 20s and stuff. Now it's different. I actually have, so talking about like working out, I actually have a trainer, Shawn Duke, and he was one of the first trainers that worked with me when I started to play volleyball. And he was like, he goes, you know, I've never really worked with a bunch of volleyball players, but let's see what we can do. And it worked out fine. Well, I went to him. Just so happens he had actually trained a bunch of guys like Dustin Poirier, like he was around those guys in Lafayette, like all these MMA fighters. So he was like, "Oh, I got you on that." So he's implemented certain workouts for me, like that they're specific for jiu-jitsu. It's totally
Nice.
different. A lot of kettlebells, a lot of look, and we've implemented like log carries, tire flips, a lot of just things like bag carries and stuff, just different workouts that will work for that stronger core, you know, just being able to push things and pull things around.
Yeah.
And so he's been pretty integral in that. He gives, you know, I go to him and say, hey, I need a new workout. He gives it to me. He's got a gym that's right next to the jiu-jitsu gym. So that works
Yeah,
out
that's
too.
it's such an interesting concept with one with aging, but two, just like when you're consistent with your workouts, like we know consistency and discipline are huge, but
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
just knowing that you also have to mix it up. Like you do the same
Yeah.
workout over and over for a long time, it kind of starts to lose its,
It
its
does.
flair. Your body is not responding the same.
Yeah.
So to
That's
have
it.
someone that can kick that
Yeah.
in and help you mix it up is
it,
so
it's per
nice.
it's perfect. You're right. It loses its pop. It does.
Yeah.
It usually it takes my body about, me and my buddy Guy. He was a guy at the gym that he started jujitsu and he's doing awesome. And me and him were talking because he's my workout partner. So if you ever see me flipping tires, you see this, you know, guy that looks like a Viking behind me. It's Guy.
I love
And
it.
so like he's my buddy that keeps me motivated. And like whenever I'm not there, you know, when he's not there, I'll call him like, where the hell are you at? Whenever I'm
Yeah.
not here, I'm here. I'm here. So we kind of keep each, you know, checks and balances on each other, and
Yeah.
it's good. You need that. You need somebody. You need two things. You need a mentor in everything. I don't care what it is. You can try to start it off yourself, but you need to look. If you don't have a mentor and something that you want to be successful in, go get you one. Because if you don't have one, number one, you're not going to learn. Well, you should be able to learn from other people, but you're going to have to go through that school of hard knocks. But having a mentor makes it so much better. I mean,
Amen.
in business and in life. And then also, you've got to have a support group, whether it's one person, two people, family, kids, wife, best friend. Sometimes friends aren't the best support group. I hate to say that. You know, sometimes it's your comrades in the gym. And that's what jiu-jitsu, that's what's like, there's days I'm like, you know, this is the thing. I never missed a week even after I had my surgery. I was in there with a brace of sling, but I went and sat in there just to be with my teammates. And you know, they liked it. We picked on each other. But there's days when I don't want to go. It's just the
Hmm.
way it is. I've been up since 5 o'clock. I've been busting my ass day and, you know, all day. My watch Soren's going to soccer, and you know, do I really want to go? But I'm like, you know what? Let's just push through it. So I'll
Yeah.
go in there, and the minute I hit the mats, and the minute Professor Nunzio he cracks a joke with me, or you know somebody, I feel so much better. And then by the time somebody's choking me out, I'm all in. I'm like, let's go. You know, it's all good. That blood starts pumping. I'm breaking a sweat. I'm like, and afterwards, it's nothing but love and hugs. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much I've choked somebody or somebody's choked me out. It's always respect at the end. We always talk about it. We always, you know, and then I'm walking out of there with sweat still beading off my forehead, and I'm happy. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm glad I did this. So that's, you know, That's
That's
where the
some,
jiu-jitsu thing's coming in at.
yeah.
It's,
I love
it's,
watching this, and so one more time before we get to the next topic, but tell me the rest of the year, where you go from here on the jiu-jitsu train.
so I go, we have the IBJJF, which is the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. They're like the international, the world federation for just jiu-jitsu. It's in itself. I'm going to go to Houston, Texas, which I won the gold medal the last Houston, Texas International. So this is like the fall or the winter international. So I'm just going to barely make that. He's going to release me next week. I'll compete on the 5th in Houston, and then I'm going to fly into Waco in December. And then after, I wanted to get a couple of tournaments in before I go to France because I mean that's the international championships. So I wanted to, make sure I wasn't flat on that because I haven't competed since I competed injured, which was probably a dumb thing for me to do. But like when I was in Long Beach, excuse me, I
Mm-hmm.
was injured, and then it really fully popped in the finals of Long Beach, and that's why
And
I was like,
when you say it, just for people, it's your tricep, right?
yeah, I had torn my tricep in a tournament, and it popped off, and so it kind of done it in segments. But I had Southern Orthopedics. He worked on me for my volleyball injuries, my shoulder, my bicep, and everything. Dr. McNulty is his name. He was when I came in, he's like, "What'd you do this time?" So I told him, and I showed him. I was like, "Look, I picked up jiu-jitsu," and he's like, "Oh gosh." But I showed him the success. He's like, "Man, I really like this. I like to know that after you get healed up, you're gonna make something out of it." So, but it was such a clean break, like from the tendons, that when he went in there, he said it was really good. So he said it was an easy fix. They took care of it. You just have to let it heal. So, but yeah, that's what I did. So I tore my tricep. It popped up, rolled up like a fruit roll up. I'm sitting there at the tournament. The guy's like, "Are you okay?" And I, took my gi off. I was like, "Yeah, I don't think so." So just that's when I came home that day. When I was going to come visit with you guys, and I was like, "You know what? I got to go home and get this checked up." And then flew back in, got the MRI. They were like, "Hey, amigo, look, you got to stop competing on this thing." So basically, I was winning tournaments in a way with one arm. I mean, not really, but I
Yeah,
just
but
couldn't do
injured.
much with this.
Yeah.
Injured, yeah, injured, and it sucks. So that's but I've got those two, and then in mid-January, I think the 21st, we fly out to France for about 9 or 10 days because it's Rome. It was in Rome, Italy last year when I won the European Championships, and this is going to be in Paris. So,
Are
I
you
mean, why would
are you taking your family again this time?
yeah, everybody's going to go.
What an
Stella,
it's such an
yeah,
incredible experience. Like
yeah,
I
Stella,
just love that.
yeah. I mean, we get to work things out with school a little bit, but this time actually, Stella didn't go to Rome because of school, but this time
Mhm.
she's going to come with us, so it's going to be an awesome event. I told her teachers, I went to school. I was like, guys, I said this is like
You
a trip of a lifetime, and they were
yeah,
like, no, they understood. So we had to go up the ladder, the chain of command, and everybody was good with it. And then, of course, once they found out what I was doing, they were like, "Oh man, that's awesome!" Just she can do
yeah.
homework here and there, so
Oh,
that's
for
good. But yeah,
sure.
everybody's going to come, and it's going to be so we get to do it's a family vacation, with a
That's
purpose.
fantastic.
I
Yeah,
guess you can,
I love it. I love
yeah.
how you guys
So
roll. It's so great.
so it's going to be awesome. But but like I said, with jujitsu, I mean, uh, I think one thing that I've learned is that age, that's nothing but a number.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, and I noticed this, and people, of course, are like, "Oh, you don't look your age anywhere." Well, number one, thank you. Number two, I've worked on that. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like I haven't touched alcohol legitimately since I was 27. The day that Seth was born, I just knew myself. I was like, because I was a heavy drinker. I mean, I lived in South Louisiana.
Mhm.
I was part of a bar, a nightclub, in the early 2000s, 1999. So I was around it all the time. Even though it wasn't something I wanted to do, but I was just there. So I did. I drank a lot, but that's what I tell them. I was like, I haven't touched it in this many years, and I can tell you right now, you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference 6 months after you stop drinking, or 6 months after you change your diet, or you know what I mean. So basically, I've tried to do all of these things, and I've been doing all of these things for my stuff is 18. So basically, 18 years. It's been that
Yeah.
long. So you know,
What a choice to make for yourself and the next generation, because one, the example that you set through that, but also just like the wear and tear on your body and mind. I mean, the inflammation that alcohol causes, whether or not you have an addiction problem,
Yeah.
it's really not good for anybody. And that's what is,
Oh,
there used to be
there's
the
no way.
debate when you know about inflammation
Mhm.
and the effect it has on your body. Really,
Oh
none of us
wow.
should be drinking alcohol. But
No, no,
you know what?
no.
Everybody's got their journey, and
That's right.
all you can
Yeah,
control is yourself. But I commend you because it obviously shows the choices, the little choices we make every day
yeah.
over time makes such an incredible impact
They
on
do.
the
It
people around.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, and that's that it's little steps. I mean, it's not an overnight success. I mean, I've got guys now that I've been, that say when I was playing volleyball, they're like, "Hey, what do you do?" So I mean, look, I've got it. I'll send out workouts, supplement lists, and do this. Now I send it to 10 people, 9 people, they're not going to do it. I even send one out with what to eat and what not to eat. Like JD Hamilton, he listened to it. That kid, whenever we were playing volleyball together, and he was my partner. 3 months, that dude came back and everybody's looking at him like, what? And they're like, oh, he's taking this. And I was like, he's not taking anything. I said, he's working out 5 days a week. He's playing volleyball. He's eating right for the first time in his life. And he came. I mean, he was one that came back and was like, he had thanked me. And I was like, no, thank yourself. I said, all I did was give you what you needed to do. You did all the hard work, and look, his game. You know him. I mean, JD's a
yeah,
great player. He's still playing.
great.
He's gonna play for a long time, just because he's like Christian Honer. Those two, they'll probably be playing until they're 60. They're gonna look like they're 35 when they're 60 because they look like they're 12 now, even in their late 20s.
Totally.
I love those two, man. They're all, but it's so funny because I've been knowing Christian now for close to 10 years, and that I'm like, dude, do you ever age? He
Yeah.
still looks like this teenage California kid with white blonde hair, and he's just, he's a spark plug too. He's got so much energy that is great.
Yeah, and he's into Jiu
So
Jitsu too. So for
I
everybody that's
said,
out there, so for
that's
people
right.
listening to this, they can go back and find Christian. He's on one of our episodes too. He is a
Yeah,
great kid with a great
he,
outlook. Oh my gosh.
yes,
I
yeah,
agree.
it's awesome. He messaged me all the time whenever how you doing, and we talk about jiu-jitsu. And I'm trying to get him out. I told him, I said, look, when I come back out to California or Las Vegas for one of the next Worlds or International Masters, I said, you need to sign up and compete. He's like, I'm getting there. I said, all right,
Yeah, there you
you
go.
know. So,
Keep the
but
encouragement coming.
yeah,
So
but
yeah, that's the other thing I mean, as we sit here and talk about this game of life and sports and the way that you mentor, that's kind of what led us also to your Special Olympics journey with your volleyball team. And I would love to get into that because man, what a thing you did in
it
Louisiana
was,
Special Olympics. So let's tell people about that.
well, first off, I'd like to give a big thanks to the athletes because, I mean, even, and I even said this, and it was funny because it was in a write up that they wrote about us here in Louisiana. Like I told them, I said, guys, all I did was give them the recipe. I said, these athletes did it themselves. They were amazing. I said, and we're not talking, oh, it's a unified team. I don't care if it's a unified team or not. I said, my athletes were amazing. So, I mean, first off, thanks to them, thanks to their parents, any of their guardians, because I mean, they had to come in and bring them. It's just, we made it to where it was a team. We didn't talk about special this and special that. It was, you can do this now. Next practice, you'll be able to do this. All we did was push them. Look, I pushed them. They pushed me. I pushed them. And I talked to the parents. Hey, you want them to get better? The other 5 days or 6 days, they're not with me on a Sunday. Why don't you get a volleyball? And some of them went and got volleyballs, right? I've given out volleyballs like I used to do with the kids I coached. And then Melissa O'Malley, she was amazing. She was like assistant coach slash player slash. She actually is well ingrained in the Louisiana Special Olympics, and without her, it would have been tough because she she would transport at least 4 or 5 of the players, 6 of the players there each practice, and she still does things with them throughout the year. Like they're in softball right now, so the athletes are going to do the softball tournament this weekend, which I won't be able to attend, but she's been amazing. And then, of course, I had our other coaches, Ursula Hand. She was amazing. She's actually, I think, in Utah at the adult championships.
Oh yeah, the World Masters games were there.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
yes.
St. George.
So I love it, man.
John,
She
we got to
pumped.
go to that sometime.
one
Like, we got to
one day,
meet
I'm
there.
telling
I want to see
you,
that so bad. And
you
my
should
best
see it.
friend lives in St. George. So she keeps telling me,
Man,
Wendy, got to get up here to see these because it would be right up our alley. I
I'm
swear.
talking ballers. It's amazing to see
Yeah.
70, 75, 80-year-old athletes balling on the court. And you're like, I
Oh, I
mean,
love it.
it's a Ursula's not that old, but But Ursula, when she left, I was like, "Go get him, Tiger." I mean, and she's a go getter too, man. She's a spark plug. She owns a financing company here. She in Mandeville. She's a successful businesswoman. And her husband, he was part of. Well, I don't know. We got recognized in St. Tammany because we were the first team in St. Tammany to ever win a gold medal for a team medal in the Special Olympics. So we got recognized by the city council, and it was televised. We got recognized by the governor, the lieutenant governor, who I got to give a big shout out to, Billy Nungesser. That guy's been integral in so many things. I mean, actually, Billy, who I'd spoken with, he's the one that got Taryn and
Yeah.
Kristen hooked up with some of their sponsorships because look, he's Louisiana through and through. He's a lieutenant governor. Hopefully, he runs for governor. I would love to support him in that venture. He's a great guy. He was one of the integral people that got the team started. Miss Tony Wright from the Special Olympics. Whenever I messaged her about it, she's like, "I don't know. I'm not sure about it, but I'll find out." And she helped me. Max Fernandez, he's one of the executives over here. John Gazzardo. There's a few other ones, but everybody in the Special Olympics, it was awesome. Now they were
So,
actually, they were kind of
yeah.
when I first started. I tried to do this before COVID, 2019, 2020, something like that. But then that hit, so that ruined because I used to 2015. I started to volunteer. Special Olympics, a buddy of mine that was on the executive board was like, "Hey, look, we need you to design a ramp for wheelchairs." So I did some design and everything like that. And he said, "You want to come to the event?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, why not?" And we went there, and it was just a little ramp that they could get up and on because it was a bowling event. And so after I went to that, and I mean, you've seen pictures on social media. I mean, I post, but like that's when I had the long hair and for locks of love playing volleyball. I would tear up watching them. I was just like, "This is amazing." I said, these sweet souls, because it was a high school event. I mean, they were just, loving, caring, just the way they were. And it felt good to be able to help them out, just with anybody, just helping anybody. But these individuals and these athletes and the high school students that were there, along with their parents, were so appreciative of the things that we were doing there. So I did it year in and year out. So then I decided, hey, volleyball is a thing for me. Why don't we try to integrate it? So for 2 years, I had this hiatus to where we couldn't do anything. So I brought it back up. I went to a breakfast, and then Billy Nungesser was there, and I just talked to him like weeks before at a steel mill luncheon that we had because Louisiana businessmen. He was there, and we had a few local businessmen that were actually there, and that's where I got to know him, got to meet him personally, and he was there. And as soon as I walked, so I pulled in right behind him. He's in this black SUV. As soon as I got out the car, he like was like, "Hey, big guy, what's up?" I was like, "What's going on?" So he remembered me. So we
Mhm.
started to talk, and I talked to him about some contracts, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll talk about that and let's get it." And then I mentioned it to him. He said, "What are you here for?" And I told him the volleyball, I want to get this volleyball team started. And he was like, "I'll help you with that." And sure enough, man, he was all in it to win it. And I was actually there to show my jiu-jitsu medals to some of the other athletes and everything. And so that's just how it started. And we started, and it took about 3 or 4 weeks. So we had to get the gym. Pelican Park stepped in, and they were amazing. They're like, "We've got a contract. Y'all can do it here on Sundays. Give us the time." So the first practice, there's only like 6 people show up. And they told me that might happen. I was like, "That's cool. I don't care. That's all we need is 6 on the court."
Yeah.
Plus, it's I said, "That is all we need." Do I need unified players? Probably, but do we really need them? Not really. I'll play my athletes as they go. Coached first practice, second practice, third, got 8 people. Practice just kept going, and I think the parents kind of understood and they sensed it. Then they were like, "Okay, this is something I want to be involved in." And then parents, and I would email everybody at the end of practices with pictures and videos and say, "Hey, look, everybody's doing great. We're working on this week. We're working on that." And never did I. And Ursula was a big hand in this too. And we never deviated from what we said our practices were. Like if we worked on passing and serving, we did it until everybody got it. You know what I mean? And there was a
Yeah.
big change. Well, and Dominic Galliano, his daughter, she's special needs. So and he's a volleyball player from over here. So it just fit right up his alley. So Gianna would come in, and of course the athletes loved her because she's this little girl. She's got this cool little wheelchair, and everybody, she would just kind of hang out, and Soren would play with her. By the time we got to the last practice, 10 weeks now, that's all we had. Now, we started this late. we had to get like an exemption to even be put into the tournament because we didn't sign up enough in time. We didn't have jerseys. We didn't have enough jerseys. Melissa calls a company that she'd worked with, a t-shirt company. So I said, "Hey, Melissa, just get us the shirts. We'll pay for them. Let's take care of it. I want everybody to look, uniform." So she calls me the next day and she's like, "Shawn, you'll never believe this." I was like, "What's up?" She's like, "I got the shirts." I was like, "Well, that's a good thing." I was like, "You sound kind of like you're, little verklempt." She's like, "They're going to pay for them." Who? She said we had some sponsors and everything. So it just started falling into it. The shirts were awesome. Just we got them the week before, like the week of the tournament. And then I told everybody that they were like, "Hey, do you want to break your team into two teams? Because it's a large team." I said, "Nope." I said, "We practiced together as one team the entire season. We're going to stay that way." And I picked up, Bailey. She was a unified player. She got sick, so she couldn't make it. Had Caroline Burkhalter. She's from St. Joseph's Academy. Had one of the girls from SSA, Ursula's daughter. She was one of our unified players, and Dominic's son. He's a volleyball player. He plays for Auburn University's
All right.
in a mural team. So we had those three, but our group that we had was just amazing. I played every athlete. I was like Aaron in the wheelchairs. So get in there. Like, they played back row. They loved it. And look, it's competitive. So don't think that people weren't serving directly at them. And I told my team, I was like, "Hey guys, pinch, just like a regular team. Look, that's our middle pincher." You know what I
Yep.
mean? I said, "Coach,
Yeah. Yep.
pinch the middle, pass the ball, let's get it done." But I had the big boys in the front. I would rotate them out. I had some of the guys that could serve better, and some of the girls that served really tough in the back. And I was like, so we played it like a legitimate uh, team. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
we ran the rotation, and we ended up we lost a few. Well, we were winning the set. We were winning the matches. We would drop a set to, we'd have to, and so we would say we dropped one set in the beginning, so we had to come back and win two sets, and then of course we
Mm.
won that one, so we went to the next one, to the next one. We finally made it to the finals, and the finals, I was like, "Hey guys, look, this team apparently has won it before." I was like, so I got the whole team together. I said, "This is coach is going to ask you, what do you want to do?" I said, "Do y'all want to win? Do y'all want everybody to play?" And look, the whole team was like, "Win." I said, "All right."
Yeah.
So I picked a few select people. I picked up my buddy Aaron. Is amazing. Aaron is somebody I'm going to play with next season on the beach. He's a wonderful soul, and it's very athletic, just loving to death. So, and everybody was good with it. I said, "Look," I said, "I'm going to try to get y'all in." And even one time I tried to put somebody. He's like, "No, coach, let them play." And like, so we won in two straight games. But I was actually away from the court, away from the. One of my buddies. He was actually at the front, and he was kind of putting people in, so I could just see everything. And then as soon as we won, just they just rushed the court, and so the excitement was just I mean, I've won a few things. I've been able to be on a couple of teams that win championships and different levels. I basically was like, "Man, this is where it's at. This is it. This is what it's about." So I'm walking through. Of course, I'm getting hugs from little Nate and all these other guys and high fiving and coaches. I mean, I've got a video. I've got to find it, but just the yells and the screams, like, "We did it. Yeah, you did it. You
Yeah.
did it. You
I mean,
guys did it." You know.
hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to bebettermedia.tv. But you're coaching like step by step. I've seen you coach, and it's amazing because you're able to break things down for whoever you're working with. And that's so important for any athlete. But in this situation, and to get all the way to the end in 10 weeks
Yeah.
and get a gold medal, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
impressive.
Oh,
Yeah.
look. I mean, this is so. This. Hold on one second. Let me see.
Yeah.
I've got all these medals over here,
All
but like,
right.
you know, we got all these big, but this medal here, all those jiu-jitsu medals, but this medal here will probably go down as one of my favorite of all times.
Oh, that gives me the
I mean,
chills.
we
I
we
have
got
the
we got
chills.
we got this thing, we won it, but this is the crazy story. So we're in the game before the finals. We win it, we go. We lose it, we don't. We're down 13-12.
Oh,
So Cole, actually somebody was going to the back. I said, "Time out." I got my buddy. I got Cole. And so Cole's a special athlete. I said, "Cole, you're going to the back." I said, "You have to serve the ball over." I said, "And you have to serve aggressive." He's like, "Coach, what do I do?" I said, "You do what you do." I said, I'm going to promise you this right now. I said, if you tie the game up, we'll win. I said, you get this first serve, we win. I said, and then you're going to be the reason we win the championship. Boy, his eyes got like this. Now, imagine you being a trained athlete on every level. Like, I got goosebumps talking
Me
about it.
too. Me
I'm
too.
like, I said, imagine you being this athlete and you just got told, basically, it's one of these things. You're in the ninth inning, you're two, you know what I mean? Bases loaded. The count is full. And then what do you do? Well, basically, he got the first serve in. He scored. He looked at me. He said, "We're going to win it, coach." I said, "We're going to win it, Cole." I said, "Let's go." And so the next serve was a rally. I'm talking like, and I'm like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? I'm like all over the place. We got the point. The third serve he served was an absolute bullet. I didn't think it was going over, but it did, and it just boom. He basically, and I'm like, and so we actually, I think we celebrated just as much on the semifinal than we did the final because like we were down. We had lost one, we won one. We're in the third. We've got to win. It's 12-13, and we're going to 15. So he
yep.
scored, and so in the unified game, each server only has three serves because they want to
Yeah.
rotate
Yeah. You
everybody
don't.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So like he served all three in, and like even to this day, I'll probably see him soon. And every time I see him, I went to go watch him practice, and he was like, "I won it, coach." I was like, "Hey, buddy," I was like, I had to tell him, I was like, "Look, you're the reason we won a championship." Like I
So
told him
great.
at the end, I said, "Cole is the reason we won, hands down, given the MVP. Aaron's the MVP overall." And just like, there's one of the other players that started the whole thing with me. And I told him, I said, and he's the reason that we even got the team started. So it's, good stories all around. But the
So good.
crazy thing now is we ended up with 18 players at the end. 18. And what's
From
wild now
six
is
from 6 to 18
in
in
10
10
weeks,
weeks
we
and a
didn't
gold
publish with
medal.
all from St. Tammany, all from the New Orleans area. We won the gold medal, like with first time ever. And then the biggest thing is this is like I've got parents, businesses, they're ready for next season. Oh yeah. So
So good.
I've talked to a lot of my players, and I was like, look, this is the deal. We won this. There's no reason we can't go to the national level and compete. And so
Yeah.
that's the goal now. So now I told him, I said, let's hit it again. Let's see how we do. We're probably gonna have to break up into separate teams, like have an A, B, and C. But they've got people that since these, the news and also with some of these magazines that have come out with they published some stuff, people will come up and say, hey, I've got a niece or I've got a cousin or I've got a brother, or I've got a son and a daughter. Could they come in? Of course they can come in. We're the most inclusive fraternity that you're ever going to meet. I told everybody that. I said, that's the one thing I'll never turn a player away. It's not going to happen. The player, number one, is going to get better. They're going to enjoy themselves and they're going to have fun. So, and I've even stopped a few players. Like I was at the gym the other day and I was, doing the treadmill or whatever. And I saw a lady with her daughter and I actually stopped her. Of course, she's looking at me all crazy. I'm like, I'm in a tank top and like short shorts. And I'm like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And she's like,
You're
stranger
scary.
danger. Yeah. And I was like, look, I said, I didn't want to be, I said, I just noticed that your daughter was, somewhere on the spectrum. And she's like, she is. And so I said, well, look, and I showed her pictures. I said, look, this is what I do. This is what I did. I would like for her to come and be part of that. So I've done that as well. So I can promise you by the time we get to our next practice, I'll be well over 20 players. That's
That's
it.
so
And I,
awesome.
and you know, and like, and I even told him this. I was like, look, so what if we don't win it next year? I said, do you think coach cares about that? I said, guys, it doesn't matter. I said, as long as you participating, you're giving me your all, and you're having fun. Now, look, losing's not fun. I'm not, and I didn't bullshit with him. Excuse me. I didn't tell him.
Mhm. All
I was
right.
like,
All good.
losing is not fun because we know like the sets we lost, crickets, crickets. So I got to step in. Hey, just like I do with my boys or any of the girls that I coach. Hey, it's over with. It's water under the bridge. You got to, let it go. And so then I was like, we got another game to play now. It's time now. So let's get to that good feeling that we just had winning that one last. Let's get that feeling back. We lost that loving feeling. Let's get it back. We win. Everybody smiles. We're good to go. So we're all on the high horse. Look, we're the champs for the year, hands down. I mean, and
Ugh.
what's even better, and I think I told you this. I haven't told the public, but I've uh, I've actually taken a position as an executive director on the board for the state of Louisiana at the Special Olympics. So I'm going to be pushing and trying to grow this. I'm actually working on growing a Baton Rouge team. You know what I mean? There's no
Nice.
reason why Baton Rouge can't have one. And somebody's like, well, won't they? I was like, I'm not worried about Baton Rouge. I said, oh, we've got NOLA. I said, we'll beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah.
But I do, but there will be some good teams, and they'll have some great coaches. And like, I think McCabe, he's one of the owners of Red Storm. He's
Hmm.
going to be he's going to be stepping in to coach a Special Olympics team, which is, you know what, that right there. McCabe and I actually played together for a while. He was one of my partners. So that right there is almost like us just giving back, you know.
Yeah.
And so
Something you and I always say, man, is it's all connected. And that's what you're showing. Like
it
it's
is,
all connected. Like
it is, it is.
the way you do things, the way you form relationships, the
Yeah,
attitude you take in, it
yeah.
connects everything you do. So
Like yeah, it is.
yeah, and that's why the level of excellence is there, but it's all the little things, that you
Yeah,
do right along the way. So, and
yeah.
that kind of gets me to this concept that you and I like to talk about of understanding the energy, feeling the energy in the world, and it's not something that gets talked about a lot, especially I think even in the male athletic world or in the
Yeah.
male business world. But I know you're willing to talk about it. So can you
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about what you've learned about the energy in the world and the way it influences your
Yeah.
day?
I've always been big on it. I didn't always know about it to be specifically. I mean, I know I'd actually talked to you about it a little bit, but then I reconnected with a really good friend of mine from that I used to model with in our early 20s, like, runway, this and that. And she had told me what she was doing, and all of a sudden she tells me she wrote this book, Energy Matters. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. I said, I've been talking to Wendy about some stuff like this, but energy matters. I mean, people's energy, like we talked about, energy matters. Energy matters in the sense of what you bring, what others will take from you. We talked about energy vampires last time. That's a real thing. I mean, each of us as an individual person, as an entity matters. You need to be aware of that. If you can, once you get a grasp on it, you got to reflect on it. That's what I'm coming through, and all this stuff I'm repeating basically just what Ziapa had put in her book. And then she's working with me to basically reflect and harmonize on it. But everybody is basically, we're made of energy. We are energy. And
Yeah.
so what energy that you bring, or what you focus on, is what you're going to become. It's that simple. And I'm not trying to, I know people are like, oh, that's not from biblical. I'm not, we're not going there, and I don't want to talk about that. It's just that when you start to focus and you start to harness and like to create a certain life that you want, or lifestyle, it comes into play, and you start to understand it. Like, she's working with me, and I go see her pretty much almost on a weekly basis, and we talk about it. And she's sometimes we'll have these 2 3 hour sessions, and I'm like, whoa, man. I mean, healings and stuff like that, just for past things in the past that I just really needed to let go. She's helped me and work with me with that as well. I mean, it's just, she's working with me to better understand a lot of the things that I had to let go of. And I did, we talked about where I grew up in Baker, Louisiana. Grew up on the poor side of on the other side of the tracks. I mean, so not that, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. If you come from that, and look, there's nothing wrong with being poor, or uh, having less than others. But there's nothing noble about it. Like, as a kid, I was like, oh, I came from here and here. Well, there's nothing noble about you coming from a broke down family, or being, unfinancially stable, like not stable financially. There's nothing noble about that until you overcome it. Once you overcome it, talk about it. You can brag about it. Like, look, when I go back to that little small town of mine, I mean, I drove to the neighborhood I grew up in. People are looking at this white guy in a Benz, and they're like, that dude's not supposed to be here. Oh, no, no, no. I'm here because this is where I came from. That's the fourplex, the duplex that I grew up in. I was one of the only white people that lived in that neighborhood at one point in time. I said, so I'm there, but you know, she's helped me let go of a lot of that stuff. And that's part of the energy thing. A lot of that stuff that you grow up with, or that you go through, sometimes it attaches itself, and generational stuff too. And until you cut the cord on that, that's going to drain your energy. People will
Yeah,
drain your energy. Cut those people
totally.
out. That's the thing. And the first session, I was like, oh man, is this really, how do I feel about this? And next thing you know, I'm like, no, it's true. There were some people that I just needed to cut out of my life, and it, family sometimes is not the best people, or will not be your biggest cheerleader. So I pulled all that out, and so it's, we've been having these sessions and everything, but the energy is huge. Like that's why we do what we do. That's why we maintain ourselves the way we do. It just because all that stuff that helps build your energy and it helps maintain your energy as a human being, and you can feel it with other people. You can feel people's light. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
can see when you're around them. I'm not talking about some arrogant cock. That's not light. That's what I'm saying. The ego's got to go, but the cockiness and arrogance and stuff, that's not light. If somebody's attracted to
Yeah.
that, well, then that's your light kind. That's cool. But as far as somebody that's caring, that's kind, that's just that's kind with their words, it's kind to others, it's a protector, stuff like that. That all comes in from you creating and maintaining your energy. And
Yeah.
actually, when it takes other people, you can't do it by yourself. You need to have others like or surround you, like you and Jason and Lee and those people I can talk to when we talk about this kind of stuff. It's almost like getting plugged into the wall. It re-energizes me. It re-energizes us as we have these conversations and we talk about it. And that's the same thing with Ziapa. We were talking. She just got back from Canada. Then she went to in California. You got to meet
Yeah.
her.
I know. We had a
Um,
great dinner. And
yeah,
like I always say, anyone you introduce me to, I'm always like, yep, I'm in. And
yeah.
yeah, we connected
Yeah.
deep in one
I,
dinner
I I
conversation. It was
I knew
great.
y'all would whenever I told her. She was like, "What do I want to meet this woman for?" I was like, "Just listen to me, please." I was like, "Go talk to her." And you know what? It's so funny because she must have left and y'all had left and y'all were both texting me at the same time. I was like, "Good." I feel like I did a good
That's
job.
energy
So
right there. Yeah.
that's right. So but that's and I think men themselves. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the ego part of it, but that's when I say just leave that ego at the nothing. Ego will do nothing for you in this life, and I've learned that because I grew up where it was always machoism and ego and all that stuff. And now that I do the things that I do, and I have the family and the kids and all that stuff, it is no place for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
So, but
there's such a difference between true confidence and arrogance that comes
oh
from,
gosh, there is.
that from that ego over dependency on ego. And
That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
it's foundational. If you
Yeah.
got a strong foundation, then none of that other stuff, that cockiness and all that stuff doesn't matter. You know what I mean? They'll know that you're confident
Yeah.
in what you do, and if you're disciplined and you're persistent and you do these things day in and day out, you should be confident because you put the work in to get the things that you do. Whether it's your body, your lifestyle, your health. I mean, my buddy Jamar Mason, he's the same way. Remember, he was my buddy. He beat cancer, and now,
Oh,
man, I watch him now. He's going through that hard 75, whatever, or 90 days
oh
something,
yeah. Yeah.
and he's killing it, man. But he was one of them too. We talked about workouts, and he got a trainer. I said, Jamar, you need a trainer. He played that. Me and him played on the same basketball team in high school. I said, you
Okay.
need a trainer. I said, I'm not there in Houston. And now that I see his videos, I'm like, dude, you're an inspiration to me. And he's like, well, he's just part of my tribe. I inspire him. He tells me, and he inspires me. And that's the way you got it. It's iron sharpening iron. You know.
Yeah. No,
So
you're hitting on all the big stuff. I mean, from mentorship to accountability, discipline,
yeah,
consistency, and it's like the way you take that across the board in all these areas of your life, whether it's
yeah,
business, sports, family, community. I'm consistently just it's a joy to hear about all of it. I always love the catch ups with you because it's it's positive just because of the way you show up every day, and it
yeah,
matters, and
yeah, yeah,
I love, this, we're both really passionate about the message that we're sending to the next generation, and the way America is right now.
yeah,
I really want to highlight and show people, like, these are the people that cross paths every day,
yeah,
and we're out there doing this stuff without, there's no fanfare, but you know
yeah,
what? You're the conscious capitalist, hardworking businessman, family guy, standards
yeah.
matter, and it's not arrogant. It's just
No,
showing up. So, you know, talk to me a little bit about conscious capitalism and what that means to you as a businessman.
I mean of course, capitalism is an economic system, but it's It's something that's got to be done. I mean, you can't just give people everything they want. Nobody's entitled to anything. I mean, the bottom line is you're going to have to work for what you want, whether it's for monetary gain. It's you've got to keep the competition involved in it. And but like giving people just things for no reason, that's killing our society. And it's also crazy the entitlement that the youth of today they think that they deserve. Nobody deserves a damn thing in this life. You know what I mean? And it's crazy to think that. I mean, this is, and growing up, I used to be really, really like angry at people, like, oh, that their daddy. Well, their money and this and that. Now that I'm in the position that I'm in now, I came from nothing. First person in my family to graduate college, and do other things and this that. But now I look at it. I don't understand. People are given things by their parents and they don't have to work hard for it. But this is the thing: if somebody's made it somewhere down the line in that family, it's a generational thing. Somebody had to work their ass off. Somebody had to be the first.
Hmm.
So that's where the capitalism and somebody had to accumulate what they've gotten, and it didn't just happen. Sorry, I mean now look, if we go back hundreds of years, maybe you can argue that, but in these recent, say 100 years, whoever was the one in your family, and I'm the one. I'm going to be the one. And like I said, I'm not worried about am I financially stable for myself? I'm going to be financially stable for my children's children. And so that when you look at things from that sense, I want to be the
Yeah.
grandpa. I want to be the guy that's cooking Sunday dinner or frying fish on Saturday here in South Louisiana. Let's go see Papa. Let's things like that.
Mhm.
It kind of helps because I didn't have that. So per se, in a sense, I didn't grow up with a
Yeah.
father
Yeah.
per se. I mean, I was raised by my mother. My mother raised three single. She was single with three boys, so that wasn't easy. And that's
Yeah.
another thing. That's why people are like, "Oh, who do you look up to?" Well, she's one of them. I look back and could she have done things differently? Maybe, but she didn't, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like, and what she has now she has us to account for. So I think she did a good job.
Yeah. So
So
good. And
yeah,
we go through those challenges. You and I both know the challenges we go through level us
yeah,
up and they make us
that's
able to help other people. And
that's
you did
right.
that
Yeah,
consistently.
yeah. And you
So,
find out who your people are when you go through these things.
yeah, amen.
That's it
Amen.
right there.
And it
Like
matters.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I try to give my daughter, I give as much advice as I can. And sometimes we laugh it off, but I mean, I'm serious. I'm like, man, if I would have had somebody that gave me this advice, I don't know. Would I have been better? Don't know. Maybe not because I'm just I'm a knucklehead. I've got to fail multiple times to learn a lesson. No, everybody that knows me knows that. That's the one thing about me. They're like, oh, you won't beat me. You're never going to beat me. And I tell this to people. I said, this is the thing. I said, you're not going to beat me because I'm going to win in the end. So if I'm not winning, it's not the end. And
Yeah, I love it.
that's how I focus on these things. And I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to learn things from your failures and your darkest days in your past. And because the one thing that I have learned, and this is from a mentor, from like my mentor Joe Perone when I was in college. He was like, no matter what happens, good or bad, it's going to pass. You're
Yeah.
going to have these great days, these good days, these days that you wish, they're going to pass. Be patient. Now, don't just sit there and not do anything about it because then that makes you a lazy ass. That makes you, then you're succumbing to whatever it is that's encapsulating you. But this is one thing my grandmother had told me when I was a kid. Well, I was in college, and I was over there, and she was like in her 90s, and I'm like, things aren't going so well, and this, that, and the other. She's like, let me tell you something. If you took your problems and you threw them in a pile with everybody else's problems in this world, after you saw all the shit that they're dealing with, I promise you, you'd run and grab your shit and you would take off running and be happy that you had it. And that's why I look back and I'm like, man, did I have a hard life? It wasn't the hardest. It wasn't
Yeah.
the easiest, but it molded me in it molded me for my specific purpose on this planet. And there's some other things another business you and I were talking about that's more of a sustainability
Hmm.
Delta Agrofiber Solutions, which we'll be able to talk about probably the next year, which is great. But it's something
Wait, let's do
that's a
it.
that's a purpose, and we look at that with me and some of my partners that are joining in on that. But that's what she said. She's like, you think you have problems until you see what other people are going through.
Yeah.
She's like, so be glad, be happy with some of your problems, and just run
Yeah.
with it. And I told her, and I was like, God, dog it. I said, man, 90 years, that's a lot of wisdom. So
Amen. That's,
I've looked
yeah,
at it.
perspective, man. It's
Yeah,
huge,
it
huge.
is. It is.
So, yeah, I just, my favorite question that I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, and since this is your second, it's the second time I'm asking you this, but, what is a piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Man, I knew this was coming, so I was ready for it. So this is, I thought back, and if people know me, I'm pretty sure some people would say that kid was an a-hole growing up. I really wasn't. I was a sweet kid, I think. I was angry. We and Jason had talked about this. I was angry for multiple
Yeah.
reasons. I wanted what others didn't want, and what I didn't have, which most people want. But this is what I would say. I'd say be kinder to yourself and others. That's one thing I would tell myself. And I'd say, and this is another thing I think that not growing up with a stable household, um, always know your worth. You need
Mm,
to people need to know their worth. You need to look, and I'm not saying infatuate or inflate somebody's worth. Like I see these parents, oh my baby, the best at the. No, no, no. Your kid's not that great. I get it that you're proud of him. Like I've had to tell that to some of these parents that I'm coaching their kids. It's like, whoa, slow down, Kimosabi. Your kid,
mm,
average. Can they get better? Yes, but let's not come to coach and say my baby is should be running the point or my baby should be setting. Your kid can't even pass. How am I going to let your kid, you know what I mean? Your kid can't make a free throw. How do you want me to let them run the point guard? So that's,
yeah.
tell people that, I'll let people know. I would tell myself the world is bigger than you think. Like I said with my grandmother, and the worries that are important, that you think are important, they're really not. Um,
Yeah.
Another thing that I would tell myself, because this is something I had to deal with, don't worry if you look different or feel different from other people. I grew up in South Louisiana looking like this. What are you? How are you? I'm me. You know what I mean? I wish as a young kid, but you're not the same as everybody else growing up in a sense. You're this guy that, people would ask me questions on Hawaiian, and yeah, that's part of it. But I mean, you know, just you're different. Just be glad that you're different, even in another sense of this, even across, not even on the skin tone, just you may look or feel different, and there's more to you than most people see. That's another thing. Um,
Yeah.
don't get caught up on difficult moments. Like I said, this too shall pass. That was a big one. And then this is what I would probably tell myself, and I've had to tell myself the past 25 years is don't dwell on the past. You know what I mean? Just because it happened one way doesn't mean it's going to happen that way again. So
Yeah.
now we all have the pen in our hand to write the rest of our story, just like we have in a journal. I mean, that's why I write these journals down, and that's why I take a daily journal and I have a work journal. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what I'm doing right
No,
now.
it's
So
that
I'm
consistency, man, that consistency across the board that you're talking about and all of the life
yeah,
lessons that you've taken in. And that's why, why, we're friends, but
yeah,
also, why we're so proud to have you on board with everything we're doing at Be Better. And
I
I mean,
love it.
you are truly like the way you live your life is just daily proof that, being a little bit better every day matters, and it matters to
Yeah,
everybody around you. So,
yeah,
I just, I don't know, I just commend you for the way that you go about your day with intention, and
yeah.
it's really fun to watch. So,
I appreciate that.
for people who want to find you, connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
On Instagram, I know a lot of people use that platform. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day. I have it written down. It's Rome underscore wasn't dot built underscore in underscore a underscore day. And then
Yep.
you'll notice you'll once you it's public, so you'll see me with either a fish or a volleyball or a jiu-jitsu uniform gi on. The other one is Titan underscore performance volleyball, and that's the
Cool.
volleyball. That's like with the AVP. I throw juniors and local events in Louisiana. So, and then of course on Facebook you can just Shawn Ledig. I've never found
Cool.
another one. I think there is another guy with the same name, but he's a little different looking than I am. So you probably distinguish us. But
Sounds
but
good.
those three platforms you can find. And like I said, I'll probably on one of those I have a personal email. People email me sometimes for advice on nutrition or this, that, and the other. And something I can help people out with. Shoot, you know what I mean? I can only give you what I know that works for me, but hopefully, maybe you can take it and use part of it to help yourself. So
Yeah.
that's that's
Well,
that's how to
I love all that. We'll make sure it gets in the show notes because you should be
yeah,
somebody that people are taking advice from. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and can't wait to get this podcast out there because there's just so much good stuff you're doing and I want the world to know about it. So thanks for being a friend.
I love it.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for listening to What I Meant to Say. If you enjoyed this conversation, you know what to do. Subscribe, rate, review. And for more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to BeBetterMedia.tv.